Okay, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome us to this morning's class, Project Management Profession. I hope we all had a nice night rest. Okay, so my name is Mr. Badi Peter, and in today's class, we'll be looking at Introduction to Project Management course. And I hope you can all see my screen. If you have a writing material, kindly jot as much as possible. All right, so in today's class, we'll be looking at, we'll be defining simple terms like what is project management life cycle, and then we'll also be looking at project management in general. And then we'll provide a practical approach to what a project as a complex process is. Okay, so then we'll simply define the management processes required to manage a project successfully from start to finish. So if we have enough time, we'll be able to cover all this. But if we don't have time, we'll simply continue from where we stopped next week. So, but for today, our focus is just on introducing project management as a framework, and then there will also define project management context, and of course, project management processes. So quickly, what is a project? Let's quickly dive into what we have today. Excuse me. What is a project? We simply define a project as a unique endeavor that produces a set of deliverables within clearly specified budget, time scale, and specified specification, which is quality. Okay, a project is a unique endeavor that produces a set of deliverables within clearly specified budget, time scale, and specified specification. Now, those three things that are highlighted in red marker is all referred to as triple constraint. Now, as the class proceeds, I will try and explain what the triple constraint is and why it's so important in managing projects. But basically, let's look at that definition, in whole, so that we can understand exactly what I've just defined for us. I want to believe that everyone who is attending this class have executed one project or the other. Some will say, no, I have never executed a project. But by the time we are done explaining the meaning of project, you will agree with me that each and every one of us have executed a project in the past. Some have done that this morning. Some did that before they went to bed yesterday. Okay, so by the time we explain this project, this definition, we will see why project is very relevant in our lives on a daily day. All right, so let's explain them now. The first is a project is a unique endeavor. What do you mean by unique endeavor? Unique simply means producing something that has never been done before, one of its kind. It has never been done before. And when we look at the characteristics of a project, you see that one of them is that your outcome must be unique. What you're going to the product you're going to produce or the services you're rendering must be one of its kind, something has never been done before. So a project is executing or doing what has never been done, okay, to produce a set of deliverable. So uniqueness is one of the characteristics of a project. You want to do what has never been done before. Endeavor is any activity you engage yourself in, okay. Set of deliverable is actually the product, the outcome of that activity, which falls into two categories: the product or the service. And you must work within this budget, time, and quality. So meaning there's a specified budget that's been given to you to execute that project. You must, as a project manager, try as much as possible to deliver that project within that project within that budget that you're giving. So if you're giving 5 million naira, you must do everything possible to deliver that product or that service with that 5 million naira. The same thing, time. you're given a specified time to complete that project. 2 weeks, 1 month, 5 months. You must be able to deliver that project within that time. And of course, there's quality. Before the project owner or the sponsor, give you the project, he must have given you, there's an expectation. He must have given you some guidelines, what he expects at the end of the project. So you must try as much as possible to deliver on the quality as defined by the project sponsor. So this makes up the definition of a project. So if I'm to rephrase this definition now, I can say that a project is engaging in an activity to produce a product or service that has never been produced or delivered before, using the available money, time, and quality given to me. Does that make sense? Engaging in an activity to produce a product or deliver a service that has never been done before, using the cost, which is the budget, the time, and the quality given to me by the sponsor. That is the definition of a project. So you see that this simple sentence I just gave you now defines everything that you have there. Engaging in an activity, endeavor, to produce a product or deliver a service, deliverable, that has never been produced or delivered before, uniqueness, using the budget, the time, and the quality given to me by the sponsor. So that's simply the definition of a project. Okay, so let's proceed. Then another thing you need to understand about the project, that it is temporary. Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. Now, another word I want us to pay attention to is that word temporary. So project is not something you do forever. There's a start date and there's a finish date. A project. Any activity you engage yourself in, as long as that thing has a start date and you know when you're to finish that particular activity, that makes that activity a project. Before we went to bed last night, we all cooked dinner. Do we know that cooking dinner is actually a project? Why? Because it's a time you enter the kitchen. You didn't stay in the kitchen till this morning. You spend probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes making dinner for yourself. That makes that a project. Now, even if what you cooked last night is rice and stew, that's not the first time you've cooked that rice and stew. But you agree with me that the rice and stew you cooked yesterday is different from the one you've been making before. That is the uniqueness that we're talking about. Because it's possible that the rice you cooked 3 days ago had more pepper than the one you cooked yesterday. Maybe there may be more salt in that yesterday's own than the last week's own, or oil. There must be something that makes it different from the previous ones we've been doing. That is the uniqueness we're talking about. So that's why I said each and every one of us in the time past have executed a project. So no matter how small that difference is, that qualifies that activity as a project, because that little difference is what has created the uniqueness from every project. You may like a guy, maybe a person's house. Oh wow, I like this pattern and everything. You'll contact the person, contact the architect that designed that particular project, and then you identify a project manager to help you build exactly that same house because you like the pattern. That house you're going to build will be built in another location. Location has created a uniqueness, even if you're going to use the same architectural design. The person may decide to use white paint, but you're not comfortable with paint in the white, you choose another color. That color has created a uniqueness. So you see, a project must produce something that has never been done before. Like we said, it has a start date and a finish date. All right, let's proceed. I think that is well understood. So those terms I just defined for you. Endeavor means an enterprise or directed activity. Deliverable are the product, a tangible, verifiable work product, okay, which I just explained. The product, the outcome of the activity that you engaged yourself in, that's deliverable. All right, so characteristics of a project. Projects are different from standard business operations. Why are they different? Now we're going to be looking at projects and operation, because the opposite of project is operation. But let's look at the characteristics of a project. Number one, like we said, a project, they are temporary, they are unique, and elaborate. That's number one characteristic of the project. They are temporary, they are unique, they are progressive, and they're elaborate. Temporary, it has a start date and a finish date. Unique, creating one of its kind. Progressive, it's not by magic, and no project is by magic. There's a laid down procedure. You started from foundation before you started raising the block. Like that, you got to the roofing of the house. So you could see the progressiveness. Okay, even when you're cooking, you started from cutting, grinding, and all those stuffs. You parboil, you fry, like that. So there's a progressive, outline or progressive activities that you need to perform until that project or that product or that service is produced or delivered. Is also elaborate. Some projects are very, very complex, while some are not as complex as one, but this an elaborate project has an elaborateness. Okay, that's number one characteristic of the project. Number two characteristics is that they have an approved budget. They have an approved budget. Just like I told you, you don't have the whole money in the world to execute a project. There's what we call project planning. Is a process in project management where the sponsor, the sponsor is the owner of the project, the financier of the project, the person who raises the money for the project. It can be an individual, it can be an organization, it can be a government, and so on and so forth. Now, there's usually a meeting between the project manager and the project sponsor during the project planning phase. Now, that particular period is when the sponsor and the project manager agrees on how much it will take the project manager to execute the project, having considered everything that the project needs. Now, as soon as that fixed amount is agreed, that's it. It's expected of you as a project manager to deliver that project at that specified or that approved budget. So every project has an approved budget. Every project have limited resources. Just like I said, whether it's financial resources, you're limited because you have to use what you have to deliver what they want. So there's limitation in money, finances, there's limitation in raw materials, there's limitation in personnel they're going to use. There's limit, so it has limited resources. You have to use the available resources to produce what you want. Every project has an element of risk. There are two types of risk. We have the pure risk, we have the business risk. Okay, the business risk has to do with financial loss. Okay, maybe you encounter some financial loss when you're trying to execute a project or doing a business. That's a business risk. So financial loss or gain has to do with business risk. And of course, every project has that risk. Then the pure risk is the one that causes injury, okay, to the staff, the personnel who are involved in carrying out the project. It can be a fall from a height, if it's a building or a construction project. It can be inhalation of chemicals, in site, and so on and so forth. So those are pure. So every project has an element of risk. Even while cooking in the kitchen, you can know that there's some risk from the gas cylinder. Okay, water spill on the floor can even cause a spill. You can cut your hand while trying to slice the onions and the rest of them. So there is an element of risk in every project. Take note of these characteristics, but these are the things that fulfills, a project. So before you say, this is a project, it must have these characteristics that we're trying to list. It has a defined time scale, just like I said. You don't have the whole time in the world to do that project. There's a defined time scale. 2 weeks, 1 month, you must be able to deliver that project at that set time. It achieves a beneficial change, something new. Okay, you must be able to create something new. There are some times that the sponsor may decide to redesign the project, even when the project has gone 40% or 50%. So there are a lot of things that may cause a change. Okay, to the project deliverable, but it must be an agreement between the sponsor and the project manager to redesign. So there's usually a beneficial change. Okay. So those are the characteristics of a project. Okay, so let's proceed. I think I've explained all this. So let's look at project and operation. Let's look at the difference that exists between both of them, the project and operation. Now, operation is more or less like the day-to-day activity, okay, that is being done repetitively. It doesn't have a start date. It may have a start date, but no one can tell when that particular activity will end. So that's one thing I need you to know. So you see, it's an opposite of the opposite of a project. That's operation. Something you do on a daily basis, the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. There's a possibility, of course, the operation can also create a product. Definitely, you must create a product or a service. But it's something that you do the same. That's what an operation is. Now, when you look at the slide that I have, trying to compare between a project and an operation. We said projects are temporary and they are unique, which we already understand from my explanation. But operations are ongoing and repetitive. It's not temporary, it is ongoing, it is repetitive. The same thing you produced yesterday is what you're going to produce tomorrow, like that. So it's ongoing, it is repetitive. But project is not ongoing and repetitive because of the temporary nature of a project. It has a start date and a finish date. Once you're done, once you deliver the product or deliver the service, that's the end of the project. The project terminates, everybody goes to their house until the next project comes. But operation is continuous. Now, number two, the objective of a project is to attain the project objective and then close the project. So once you achieve the project objective, there's no point continuing in that project. The project is closed. The reason why you entered the kitchen last night to cook is because you need to eat dinner, because you're hungry. As soon as you deliver that food and you eat and you're satisfied, that's the end of that project till the following day. So you have achieved that objective. So you don't need to keep, staying in the kitchen and cooking, except you have maybe an occasion. And of course, once the occasion is over, that's the end. So once a project attains its objective, the project closes. Okay, but for operation, even when you attain the objective, okay, it has to be continuous because the reason or the essence of an operation is to sustain the business. We need to make profit. We need to pay salary. So we have to keep doing it, even when we deliver the objective of that particular activity, we still have to, because it's a day-to-day activity, it's an ongoing activity. So for us to be able to sustain that business, because we're exerting, labor, there is cost, we are spending money on a daily basis, resources are being utilized and everything. We need to service those things. So for us to service those things, we need to continue. We have to sustain the business. That's the second difference between the project and an operation. And number three, project ceases when the declared objectives have been attained, while operations adopt a new set of objectives and continues to work or function. It's just like a sequel to the number 2 point that I just gave us. Just like we said, once the declared objective for project is attained, that's it. But for operation, they will give you a new set. If you're a marketer in bank, for example, and they said, okay, 60 million naira for 3 months. Trust me, when you achieve that 60 million naira in 3 months, and you come back, oh, you brought to your marketing manager, whoever is in charge, that I've been able to achieve my objective, they will hail you, they will give you your own percentage and the rest of them. Trust me, the next 6 months, they're increasing your target from 60 million to 100 million. Achieve the 100 million naira, they also increase it. Why? It is continuous. They will create new objectives. That's one thing about operation. Once the objective of that particular activity is attained, they create new objective. They want the work to continue. They want that activity to keep going. That's one thing about operation. But for project, once you achieve the objective, that's the end. Nobody's creating a new objective for you. By the time they create a new objective, that becomes another project of its own. Okay, so those are the differences that exist between a project and an operation. Now let's look at the similarities between a project and operation, because they have, as much as they have their differences, they also have their similarities. And the similarities, okay, the first there is they are both performed by persons. Yes, project is carried out by human beings. The same thing, operation. They are constrained by limited resources. You don't have the whole world. As a marketer in the bank, you're limited. There are sometimes you have to even use your money to go and meet a client. Okay, so they are both constrained by limited resources. They are both planned, executed, and controlled. Okay, both project and operation, they follow this pattern. You plan for the activity, you carry out the activity, and you monitor to ensure that what is being executed is exactly in tandem with what was planned. So they are both planned, executed, and controlled, so that everybody will know what he or she is expected to do. There's a process, okay? So they are both planned, executed, and controlled. And then they both have elements of risk. They both involve risk, just as I've explained for the project. Operations also have the same the same risk, both the business risk I talked about, and of course the pure risk. So those are the similarities that exist between a project and an operation. They are both performed by persons. They are both constrained by limited resources. They are both planned, executed, and controlled. And of course, they both involve risk. Let's look at examples of projects, and let's see whether these examples actually fulfill the definition and the characteristics of a project, just as we described earlier. Releasing a new music album. Is that a perfect example for project? Yes, of course. Testing and installing a piece of equipment. All this has a start date and a finish date. If a musician releases a music album, that's the end. He allows the society to enjoy it. He has done his part. The next album he's going to release will be different from the one he released before. Different songs, okay, different beats. That makes it a project. Testing and installing a piece of equipment. Once you install it, that's the end. You're not going to keep coming back every day to keep installing. As soon as you install it, install that particular equipment or that particular network. That's it. That project is over. Developing a new training program is a project. You sit down and come up with, okay, what do I want to do? What kind of programs do I want to do? Once you set everything, get the materials ready, get the instructors ready and everything, that's the end. The next is just to carry it out. Establishing a new youth center, okay, is also a project for sports lovers and events. Olympic Games, World Cup, Champions League, Premier League, all these sports, they have a start date and a finish date. Okay. Manufacture of a new product, installing a new computer system. You can name as many as possible. You can name as many as possible examples of a project. So you see, from those examples that I gave, you could see that they all fulfill the definition and the characteristics of a project. If I ask you to also give me an example of an operation, you should be able to do that. Okay, any day-to-day activity that is being carried out as an operation. The market woman that sells bitter leaf in the market. Okay, all these people that run provision stores, banking operations, these are all operations. Okay, what you do on a daily basis. But please don't confuse this project I'm talking about with operation. Somebody, a student of mine in the past, sometime in 2013, went for an, was it 2013 or 2012? Yeah, went for an interview, okay, with a construction company, I think, yes. So after the interview, the lady called me and was like, Mr. Badi, see what they asked for. He wants to be sure whether she's correct, the answer that he gave them. And I think I'm going to give that as an assignment. Let's see. But even if now Now we can say, okay, I don't want to give you the same question, because if I give you the same question, it's easy to answer the question. Okay, but I want to use JPT as an example. Okay, JPTS Institute. Now, can we say JPTS as an organization, as a training institute, okay, as an institute on its own, is it a project or an operation? JPTS as a whole, the organization, what they do, okay, what the institute does in totality, can we refer that as a project or an operation? So I would like us to sit down, think about it, draft your answers, and send it to my mail. I'll be dropping my mail at the end of the class today, and I expect everybody to answer the question. So if you didn't get the question, I'm going to repeat myself so that I write it down again. JPTS Institute, is it a project or an operation? That's the activities of JPTS Institute. Is it a project or an operation? So whatever you choose, you must be able to back your answers with points, with proof, why you think, okay, it's a project, or why you think what they are doing is an operation. Okay, I'll be giving more assignments just for emphasis sake. Now, the lady I was telling you about, the question they asked her then was, this popular program that ran on NTA then, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that was anchored by Frank Edo or something. Edo, yes. You know, then they asked her, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Is it a project or an operation? Because every Friday you see the same person, the same show, you know how it's done, like that. Well, for now, just like I said, I don't want to ask that question, because now we can conclude that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a project, because it's no longer airing on national televisions. But then when it was, every Friday and everything, you had to ask and everything. All right. So that's that. So let's proceed. Let's define, now that we've understood what project is. Now, what is project management? What is project management? We define project management as the application of skills, tools, and management processes required to undertake a project successfully. Okay, let me explain it so that it will make sense to us. If we understand that project is a unique endeavor that produces a set of deliverables within specified budget, time scale, and quality. Now, the application of knowledge, skills, tools, techniques, and processes to achieve this project is all referred to as project management. Because for you to be able to undertake a unique endeavor, to produce what has never been done before, to engage yourself in an activity in order to produce what has never been produced before, maximizing the budget you were given, the time you were given, and the specification for the outcome of that project that you've been given, you need knowledge, you need skills, you need tools, you need techniques, and you need processes. One of the major reasons why you're attending this class or why you're taking this course is because you want to understand project management as a whole. What does it take to successfully execute a project? It can be a wedding plan of your friend. You may say, I may not execute a project. Trust me, you can work in a company where they will give you a project. Okay, you're in charge of this. They'll give you money. Project comes in any way. It can even be your own business, setting up your own business. What and what do I need to do to put it in place? Whether I want to go into designing, I want to go into hairdressing, whatever. You must see each of your customer that walks into your business environment as an opportunity to execute a project. Because when the customer walks in, there's something the customer wants you to achieve. So she is coming with a quality, with a specification. If he needs figure 8 for the dress he said he should make for him, don't go and give him figure 10 or whatever. I don't understand, because there's a specification. The customer will be disappointed at the end of the day if you're not able to achieve what he or she wants. I remember when he was telling you the specification, both of you agreed on the cost, how much it would take you to deliver that particular product that the customer wants. And then you've given the customer the time that he or she's going to come back to pick his dress. So you see, that's already a project. You guys agreed on quality, which is the specification. You agreed on how much it's going to take you. You agreed on the time. Imagine if at the end of the day, the customer comes and is disappointed. So you need this skill, this project management skill, to be able to do that. That's why we said you need to apply knowledge, you need to apply skill, you need to apply tools, techniques, and processes to be able to undertake that unique endeavor to produce what will be satisfactory to project sponsors, project stakeholders, and project customers. So that's what project management is. Now, as we proceed in this course, we'll explain those skills, those processes, those techniques, how you can apply each of these skills and processes and knowledge areas of project management in a project. So that's the definition of project management. Now, we say project management is accomplished through the use of processes. There are 5 processes, process group, which we're going to be discussing in details as this class, proceeds. And the 5 processes are initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control, and of course closing. Those are the 5 project management processes. We'll be discussing that in details later. Okay, so the skill, trying to explain what project management comprises of. Skill, like we said, a set of specialized knowledge and experience required for a project. Tools, these are items, equipment, materials, technology that is needed, okay, for project to succeed. Process, just like I said, there are 5 processes. These are actions that bring about a result. You start from initiation, when the project was given birth to. You plan with the project sponsor. You go to the field to execute with your project team members. The sponsor comes to monitor what is happening. The project manager comes to monitor and control what the project team members are doing. And then when the project is ready, it's closed. The project is closed, and that's when you hand over the project deliverable to the owner or to the sponsor. So there's a process. Okay, so that's basically what project management is all about. All right, so I think we'll be stopping here today because my time is almost up. I have 3 minutes to round up today's class. So hopefully from next week, when we come back next week, we'll look at related endeavors. These related endeavors, I want us to really follow me next week so that I don't get it confused, because almost all the related endeavors, they have the same definition. It starts from program and from portfolio. Portfolio is the first: portfolio, program, project, sub-project, and the rest of them. We'll try to define it and see the roles they play as far as project management is concerned. All right, so a quick recap of what we've just done, just like a summary of what we have done so far this morning, to be sure that you caught everything I just said. We started from define a project. We said in a simple term, project involves engaging yourself in an activity to produce or deliver what has never been produced or delivered before, using the cost, the time, and the budget given to you. A unique endeavor that produces a set of deliverables within specified budget, time, and quality, which is specification. We looked at the characteristics of a project. We said they are temporary, they are unique, they are progressive, and they are elaborate, which I explained. We said projects have limited resources, projects have specified budget, they have limited time. That means they have this approved time scale, okay, and they all have atom of risk. Those are the characteristics of a project that we discussed. Then we try to compare between a project and an operation. We said project is temporary, meaning it has a start date and a finish date. But we said operation, they are repetitive and they are ongoing. The number 2 is that we said the objective of the project is the reason for the project is to achieve an objective. Once you deliver that objective, the project closes down. But we said for the operation, even when you achieve it is repetitive and is ongoing. Even when you achieve the objective, we want to sustain the business. So when the objective of project is achieved, the project closes, but the operation has to continue so that we can sustain the business. And then the third one is we talked about operation creating a new set of objectives. Project doesn't do that. Project will not create a new thing for you. It's only operation that will do that. Then the similarities, they both have an atom of risk. They are both limited by resources. They are both carried out by personnel and the rest of them. We give examples of a project, okay, and we listed, and then we defined project management as the application of tools, knowledge, skills, processes to deliver that unique endeavor within the specified budget, time, and quality. So that's what we did so far today. So my email address, check baddypeter@gmail.com. Check as in CHECK, 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 check. Then Bardi, BARDI, Peter@gmail.com. Check baddypeter@gmail.com. That is my email address. And the question is, GPTS Institute, the activities you are doing, can we categorize it as a project or an operation? I want to get our opinion. And whatever you are, if it's a project operation, make sure you back it with enough points. And then we'll come next week. We'll be looking at 2 or 3 people's answers, and then we'll discuss it together and probably answer the question before we venture to the new class. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see us next week.